Imagine being born in a country where your level of success is not measured by your skills, but your willingness to comply. You have no choice but to sacrifice your health and dignity just to get things done, no matter how small they are. And that country is China, the land of a 1.4 billion population, where it has its own rules and cultures that are far beyond our imagination. One of its most seemingly absurd cultures is the drinking culture. In China, people drink alcohol in almost all kinds of social circumstances. Family dinners, friends' parties, weddings, company events, business meetings, the list goes on. Once you finish your degree and start your career, you will inevitably encounter situations where drinking is practically inescapable. You will be bombarded with questions like, how much can you drink? How did you feel last night after drinking? Did you vomit? Did you get drunk? Or do you even remember what happened? But all of this is nothing compared to the truly insane world of the China's drinking culture. For generations, Chinese people are famous for their hospitality. They use alcohol as a bridge to build trust. They believe close relationships are made through toasting. Therefore, they urge you to drink. However, the essence behind the Chinese drinking culture has been twisted, and the true nature is centered around forcing people to drink. While it may seem on the surface that this is just an act of friendliness or hospitality, the truth is, this culture has been misunderstood and misused as society evolved. A more accurate way to describe it is that it is a display of power. Those offering a toast to you often use culture as a guise, whether that's your boss or your supervisor, or even your so-called friends or colleagues. They call it a tradition. By offering you a toast, they can then assess your obedience, loyalty, and trustworthiness. Those forced to drink are often in a vulnerable position, which can be taken advantage of. Do you crave a more important role in the company? Want to land that long-awaited promotion? Need to seal the deal on that critical contract? Then don't you dare refuse the toast. Chinese people especially love a type of high-proof Chinese spirit with at least 45% alcohol content. These drinks are extremely potent. They usually give you a long-lasting hangover and a bad headache the next day. And literally everyone around you knows it. Your bosses, your friends, colleagues, relatives, everyone. But that's exactly the whole point, isn't it? The question here is, can you put your health, dignity, and self-respect aside and show your willingness to please them? This demonstrates your commitment to gaining their trust and showing your respect, regardless of your actual ability to drink. If everyone else is stumbling around after the meal, but you are still clear-headed and steady on your feet, without revealing your ugly side, it means that you value your health, dignity, and image more than their trust in you. Traditionally, Chinese people have been seen as modest, unassuming, and even humble in social interactions. They often use indirect speech acts, which can sometimes be difficult to understand. On the one hand, if they want something from you, or expect things to be done in a certain way, they don't come out and just say it directly. Instead, they'll drop hints or imply their intentions. On the other hand, they expect you to understand what they really mean. In situations like this, all you need is a simple raise of a glass, more than all the words needed to say. So when it comes to dinner with your boss, there's only one real purpose: to get you to drink and make you obedient. They might even enjoy watching you suffer, as it pleases them. They want to show that they are in the dominant position and express their power. The more you refuse to drink, the more they pressure you to drink. This is because bosses want employees who are easy to manage and who will do whatever they say without questioning them. They expect you as an employee to blindly obey their every command. Even if you're the best in your field or have the highest performance in the company, if you don't act the way they want you to, you won't be trusted. And in this case, drinking is the perfect test. Are you familiar with the term conformity bias? It refers to the tendency of people who copy what majority deems as acceptable. In other words, people have a natural inclination to follow the crowd. Let's imagine if you're someone who always follows traffic rules, but you see a couple of people walking across the street when the traffic light is red. Okay, so you might only think that they're in the wrong. Yet, you still remain where you are and wait patiently. But what if you see everyone beside you do the same, and you're the only one waiting for the light to change? Do you start to feel weird, or like you don't fit in? Do you suddenly get the urge to join the others? And that is the logic behind this toxic, forceful drinking culture. When all of your colleagues are toasting and you're the only one refusing, does it make you smart, or does it make you the fool that doesn't fit in? Once you start conforming to it, it will be hard for you to break away from it, even if it goes against your own beliefs. It can lead to a dangerous cycle of heavy drinking, as people feel the need to drink in order to fit in and gain the trust of their colleagues and superiors. In most cases, if you don't comply, you're often treated like an outsider, discriminated against, and may even lose your job. In other words, whether you pass this drinking test of obedience can affect your career path. That's why so many people in the workplace just keep quiet and just do whatever their bosses say, even if they can't handle the drinks. Yet they lift their glasses. On the 20th of August 2020, a man named Yang just had started working at a bank. That night, he was invited to a dinner where his manager slapped him. The reason for the assault? Yang didn't know his place. Before the dinner, Yang had explained to his manager that he couldn't drink due to health reasons and hadn't had any alcohol in the past 10 years. Despite this, his manager still offered him a drink during the dinner, but he politely refused it and kept apologizing and explaining that he couldn't drink. Yang's manager felt embarrassed as his authority was challenged, so he slapped Yang several times across the face. What really blew my mind was there were so many Yang's colleagues who even joined in on the manager's side to scolding and lecturing Yang. They are also victims of this evil drinking culture. They are afraid to speak out against this behavior, becoming accomplices to this manipulative culture. But they couldn't bear to see that Yang was trying to get away from it, and felt that Yang should suffer as they did, of course. Following the incident, it was no surprise that Yang was fired by his bank. He chose to share his experience on social media, gaining some attention, but the drinking culture in China remains unchanged, and unfortunately, Yang's sacrifice has not resulted in any compensation or an apology. Yang's story is just one example of a much larger problem in China. Many individuals face similar situations but are too afraid to speak out, fearing the potential loss of their jobs, being ostracized or isolated by their colleagues. They remain silent and follow the status quo to avoid jeopardizing their careers. Now you might wonder, why can't they just get rid of this drinking culture? Why do some people even seem to glorify it and consider it an important part of business success? Well, let me tell you, the truth is nothing but ugly. This absurd drinking culture is deeply ingrained in Chinese society, and those who hold power also control the narratives around it. When everyone around you thinks it's acceptable, it's hard to speak up against it, so people are stuck in this dilemma where they hate the culture but feel compelled to participate in it to succeed in their careers. This phenomenon is a sad reflection of the Chinese society as a whole, and it makes some people feel very powerless because everyone has to follow this culture. Otherwise, their development could be greatly restricted. Nowadays, whether it's discussing work or asking for a favor, even exchanging emotions between friends and relatives, is mainly done at the dinner table. And this is true that using drinking culture to achieve success is proven to be effective in China. This belief is rooted in the fact that Chinese society is based very closely on personal connections, rather than formal institutions like contracts or laws. To build these personal connections, it's important to demonstrate your commitment, and drinking is considered an effective way to do so. However, the personal ties that this mindset has created are often on a superficial level, with the weaker party often feeling compelled to adopt a subservient attitude. The uneven power dynamic at the dinner table means that everyone wants to achieve their goals and will do whatever it takes, even if it means sacrificing their health, image, and self-esteem. But is it really worth it? Let's talk about health. Heavy drinking can cause serious health issues, particularly among Chinese people, due to genetic mutations in an alcohol detoxifying enzyme. The majority of Chinese people have low tolerance for alcohol, resulting in a flushing response and dizziness after even consuming a small amount of alcohol. Therefore, they are more vulnerable to the harmful effects of alcohol on the liver. Research shows that Chinese people have a greater risk of developing severe liver diseases compared to the other nations. On a global scale, liver diseases cause over 2 million deaths each year, and China is disproportionately affected, accounting for more than half of worldwide liver cancer cases and deaths. Okay, think about this. If you had a choice, what would you have done? In China's fast-paced and highly competitive society, many have already made their choices to accept and conform to the drinking culture as a path of least resistance to achieve their goals. The pressure to conform to the drinking culture in China can be overwhelming. But what does it say about a society where friendship, loyalty, and respect are expressed through excessive drinking and manipulation? It speaks to a larger problem of flawed values, where some believe that the ends justify the means, regardless of the cost. There are cultures that embrace drinking as a way to have fun and enjoy yourself, without the need to control or manipulate others. Those who can remain calm and unwavering, even when others are faltering and losing their way, demonstrate a profound regard for their own personal values. It's never worth compromising your health, values, or self-esteem to appease others or win their favor. This is one of the reasons why I left China for good. I can't imagine myself in such compromising position where I have to drink my way to achieve my goals or to establish some so-called friendships. Thank you so much for watching and sticking with me to the end of the video. If you like the content, please leave a thumb up and subscribe.